a long time ago, possibly about 25 years ago, when I was smoking a lot of weed with my friends in New Zealand, I came up with a theory, a kind of existential theory, about what the purpose of life might be and what may have happened before. And it's something that I'm hearing people saying little snippets of, not the whole thing. So now I'm just going to say the whole thing, because I should have done this a long time ago. So what I thought the purpose of life is, fundamentally, is obviously to continue. So if let's say you may believe, you may not believe in evolution, but if you did believe in evolution, you could deduce that it's obviously more possible for this to be true, because if we started off as plankton, then everything that we are, every species, is a byproduct of life, right? We are effectively a positive accident. By positive I mean the effects being positive, right? So by series of mutations we end up becoming who we are, right? Each species, each person even. Not going to go that way, it's too windy. So basically, what if, based upon that, what if life has happened all before, the same things have happened before? Now the reason I'm saying this more now, and the reason I'm seeing this more often, is I'm looking at some of the stuff like, I think it's called Göbekli. I can never pronounce it right, it's in Turkey. I'm not going to try again. Anyway, so it's in the southeast of Turkey. It's an area they found. There's a lot of these areas in the world they found, like in Egypt, they found artifacts that haven't been, it's like not really pottery, it's things that have been made out of stone, for example. So there's a lot of evidence that there's been, this evidence wasn't around when I made this theory, by the way. But there's a lot of evidence now that, well, some of it might have been, but people weren't talking about it. And I definitely didn't know about it as a 15-year-old. Or 15 or 17-year-old. So what if this has all happened before? So again, later in life I watched the TV series Battlestar Galactica. All this has happened before and it'll happen again. That's what the repeating line throughout that series. And that's kind of what I was saying when I was younger. So you get these echoes of past thoughts that you had. Again, this theory was that, what if there had been, for example, a species that had made it to the pinnacle that we are now, or even further, and just one screw up made them reset back to nothing again, and we had to wait hundreds of millions of years, if not billions of years, before another species got picked up again into that acme, that pinnacle. And this might be a repetitive process. Maybe the goal is to break free from Earth to do the next stage of spawning. Maybe we're at one of the last chances. Actually, I have kind of mentioned some of these things before in previous videos, but maybe we're at the final stages where if we screw this one up, that's it. And who knows what we're locked into. We're locked into maybe a physical oblivion. Maybe this place that we're in, if you don't believe in you know, the fact that we're here, if you're a flat earth theorist, or if you're someone who's a what's it called, the other people, simulation theory person, it actually doesn't make a difference. You know, this is what we have. What we have around us is what we have. If it's a simulation or whatever, if it's a realm, if it's physical like this, regardless, if we screw this up, I have the feeling that we are condemning ourselves to millions of years of getting back to the same level again, if not billions of years, and another species that has the chance of doing it next time. So you never know what we have ahead of us. Anyway, that was the thing I wanted to kind of explain. And let my dog have a drink here first. Maybe he'll have one around the corner. Anyway, so what I was going to explain was that life could be basically hanging in the balance as far as life, this whole planet. If you're someone like myself who believes that we're effectively one organism with many parts, just like a human has a, you know, set of livers and a kidney, we make up, I believe, one big organism. You know, borrowed cells from the planet, borrowed atoms from the planet. When we make screw-ups by allowing horrible people in this day and age, it's, let's say, corporations or people that are just focused on money, something that's man-made, something so pathetic as money, as paper, printed paper, a token of energy, if you like, that allows them to buy all nice things, again, that are just made by money. If we allow this to happen, and we are allowing this right now, we're allowing great evils to happen, and people get upset, like, oh, look at this guy, he's making money. They'll get upset at someone making money for nothing, but they won't get upset for the people who've already been making money for nothing for centuries. They'll leave those ones alone. This is why it's an insane world we're kind of living in, where you know, governments will stick people in jail for the littlest, most pathetic nothing burger, and yet the whole of society globally knows the wrongs that some of these people have done. Let's take Jeffrey Epstein. Look how long we've been watching that scenario unfold for. It's quite obvious Bill Clinton's as guilty as sin as well. But look with him, and you know, with some of the things he did. Like, for example, the global banking crisis. That was from him. He removed a thing called the Glass. He repealed the Glass-Steagall Act, and that was what allowed the corporate purse to dip into the consumer purse, if you like. And that's what caused the global banking meltdown. Of course, we didn't bail people out, we bailed them out. And if you even talk about bailing people out, these more extreme following zombies because there's zombies on both sides, left and right, when it comes to bipartisanship. The zombies who follow the anti-socialist side, which is more they're not even capitalists. They don't even understand. They don't follow capitalism. They are congratulating crony capitalism, the very same thing that's keeping most of their lives garbage. They'll be up in arms if you start talking about bailing out the people. But they were totally fine with bailing out the banks. They'd probably be fine with you doing it again. I really believe that if we don't start seeing what is important, and also if we don't get rid of the legals, we need rid of the legal systems, the things that ties everyone's hands. And look at these storks up here behind me, you see? I don't know if you can see that on top of the pole. Family of storks. All over Bulgaria they put these things on the top of lamp posts and everything for the storks, and the storks use most of them as well. There's hardly any of them that aren't actually utilised by storks. Anyway, my point was, if we cannot somehow get rid of these legal systems which have been designed from the ground up to benefit not just the elite but the evil elite, because the only reason why we can't do something about this, okay, the majority of people are asleep. They go through their lives, they're completely consumed by consumerism, blinded by desire of trivial garbage, and spend their day working away. Therefore they don't spend any time educating themselves or even having any spiritual awareness whatsoever. Well, they might go to church, for example, but they've got no real spiritual awareness. And as a result, everyone accepts everything. So what you end up having is, let's say, for example, it is a 1%. It's far less than that, but let's say 1% are evil. And then you have 10% that are woken up. That's far less as well, unfortunately. That 10% can't do anything about the 1%, even though they outnumber them by the same ratio that society outnumbers the 10%. The society of sleeping sheep and cattle. And the reason why that is because the 0.0001% have put in the legal system in place to defend their actions and all the theft that they partake in, all the plundering through the years. For example, the easiest way to look at this is if you try to do the same to the royal family in Britain, what they did to get their wealth in the first place, you would be in jail. That's the most simplistic way to look at this one, right? So what we kind of need to do is we need to break down these systems. We're going to have to go through stages of civil war and all these sort of things, because what we are at right now is we're at a stage where if we don't repel this system that is in place right now, before they fully automate everything and take away all the capital, so the capital's in control of all the evil people, meaning that the simple act of living your life, you'll be breaking the law, because you'll be standing on their place. If they won't give you money, but they insist the system remains capital, but they won't allow you to make any money, and they own all the capital, then by default you'll be born a criminal. It wouldn't take long before they would fiddle the religious books to say that no, when they said that Jesus taking away your sin because man is, or what is it, he died for your sin because man is automatically a sinner, they would start bending that to be like, oh no, but you see, even the religious text says you're a sinner, therefore you have to live this life of being treated like crap the whole time. They will always malform religions to suit their goals, which is why I think it's better to be a moralistic person rather than someone who's necessarily religious, who's just blindly following faith and never actually questioning anything. I think that's dangerous, as we've seen over the last few millennia. So, besides doing something about the legal system is what's required, because you cannot declare a war against this extreme minority of evil, because that's what it really is, unless you have rid of the legal institutions and structures that they put in place to protect themselves and allow them to carry on being criminals for the rest of eternity, at the detriment of the planet, because it's crimes against the planet, against countless other beings, and against their apparently fellow human. So yeah, the outcome, if we don't do anything, could be, you know, it could be billions of years, or millions of years, hundreds of millions of years, who knows how long. But it could even be at the end of that, there's not even our species that takes the baton forward and moves life, not humanity, but life to the next level. If it is humanity, think of all the evil and crap that people will have to go through if we don't take the hard steps first. So this is the thing, complacency. Well, let's say, for example, today, things like terrorism. Terrorism could be something where, well, we already know that these laws were put in place on the back of things that were engineered. 9/11 was a complete inside job. There's no question about that. Even let's say if you don't believe the nuclear detonation theory, which is the only plausible one, the simple fact is ground zero means the point directly above a nuclear blast. All the clues are there, right? You can't destroy a building with, even with thermite. The heat signatures they actually had below the towers would not be there for 3 months on end if it was thermite that was used. It only makes sense that what you'll see, there's a nuclear engineer called Dmitry Kromolov, I think his name is. Look it up on YouTube. It's a 4-hour video. You want to put yourself through it, you'll see the most compelling evidence for this theory, and it kind of makes all others look ridiculous when you actually look into it. But let's just say that evidence doesn't exist, and let's say we don't know what we know. Well, what we do know, these small dogs just annoy the shit out of me. Yip yap, yip 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 yap yip. So pains my ears. If you were to take away those simple facts, just look at what we do know beyond the shadow of a doubt, and what has been admitted by the ruling elite, and that is the main guys were from Saudi Arabia, and yet the country that we're working with closely is Saudi Arabia. Why? The country that we're bombing Yemen against, Saudi Arabia. The country that's causing us to get into a lot of wars is Saudi and Israel, yet we pay for Israel. Yet you can go to Israel as an American, you can hide out and not be extradited if you're a criminal. Why is the country that you're paying billions of your tax dollars to, meanwhile America is going through ridiculous levels of impoverishment, that you're paying that country and they won't even extradite people to your country? So it all seems a little bit ridiculous. It all starts to fit together pretty well if you look at the big picture. But if you don't look at the big picture and you're a skeptic of skeptics, and you won't even look at evidence, like you'd rather make an uneducated decision, because there are people like that. They want to stay in the dark. They want to try to do a gotcha. Like for example, when people try to do these gotcha situations, I don't want to hear about it, the flat earth thing. I've looked into it a lot myself. I think that overall the evidence is just insanely easy to disprove everything. Not just easy to disprove, but when I look at the arguments and the people that are trying to prove it, it's like, oh, gotcha. They're looking in such simplistic scales where think simple physics shows them to be completely wrong and stupid. It's insane. Now, yeah, there are arguments about the whole NASA thing and all that. These are not really arguments against flat Earth. They're arguments against where we went to the moon or not. They're arguments against the space program. And that's the problem, is you try to align arguments with things that don't really relate. That's where I find the flat Earth theory to be ridiculous. But hey, I don't discount it. I just think it looks ridiculous. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying it looks ridiculous. I'm just saying under scrutiny, every argument falls down. Now, I started looking into it more in depth recently, just to try and find some of the arguments that did hold weight. And then when I really looked at them, I thought, they're not really arguments against round Earth, or for that matter, simulation theory. I believe that simulation theory is a lot more plausible than flat Earth, put it that way. But, you know, I think lambs or goats? Yeah, lambs. Yeah, I think it's a lot more plausible. But as one of my favourite YouTubers says, it doesn't really matter. It's actually irrelevant, because what we have is what we have. This is the life that I have. I don't know any. If I am plugged into the Matrix, for example, right? Let's say that's the case. Well, all I can do is learn to enlighten myself as much as possible. Learn what the true story is. Question things more, as they say on RT.com. Question the reality around me. Try find out what the truth is, and ultimately live the best possible life I can, without, you know, with the I believe with the best morals. You know, the best belief system, helping as many people as you can, helping make the world, or the world that we know, a better place, the reality that we have a better place, even if it is a computer model of some kind, or a hologram, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I wanted to get back to that fundamental idea that I had years ago, was that one, we may not even be that important, and whether we are or we aren't, let's say we're the only being that can ever make it off this planet, and it will never ever be passed on to some cat that mutates, or some let's say some frog that added, when you add a few 100 million years onto it, it starts to get digits it can use and a brain like ours. What if it's not the case, and it's just up to human beings? We can already see over the past few thousand years, not only that thousands of years ago there was civilizations with technology which in some ways was greater than ours. So it may not have been digital technology. It could have just been the ability to, I don't know, manipulate air, or have psychic abilities. It could be anything. But they definitely had technological skills in some ways that were higher than ours. And to ignore that, you're a moron. You're just someone who just, you know, just la 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 la, I don't want to see what's in front of me. And I can't deal with people like that. If you don't want to look at the reality around you and make any suppositions and just accept that, well, just the way it is. Anyway, how do you think about this football team? I don't care about the football team. It's a waste of my life. These are what I see as the distractions that are holding us back. Same as going to church 3 or 4 times a day. If you know, people who get, if you become fanatical with anything, this is the problem, is extremism. You can be an extreme idiot. You can be an extremely kind person. Kill them with kindness. You're not going to do yourself any favors, because you'll just all be screwed over, as I've learned. Just, you know, don't be extreme anything. Be balanced. Anyway, as far as as far as that theory I have, the only way to actually do anything about it is to try to be the best person you can. And as far as doing things, you know, rather than, I mean, I used to focus a lot on having a cool car or something like that, and these things just don't mean as much to me now. One thing that is important though is having a place you can chill. It doesn't have to be a house. I've learned it can be a bus, right? Which I now have. And so yeah, once you have a place that you can kind of call your own, you need to work towards things that, the reason why I say call your own, you don't really have to have a place. You just need to have, there just needs to be an area that you can retreat to with your thoughts and with your ideas, your projects, and be able to work on them. If you don't have that, it's going to be hard to build upon anything. It's going to be hard to find out where these theories like I have and that you all have, if there's any truth to it, if you don't put any effort behind uncovering the truth or your own potential. So I suppose the main thought there is, get off your lazy butt and do something. Always be chipping away and working towards what your goals are. And if you don't have any goals, spend time thinking them. Actually, one issue I had with my ex-girlfriend, the last girlfriend I had back in America, there's the bus there. One issue I had with her, I said to her, right, what goals do you have? Because it's like she had no direction. Her life was just going around in circles. And she just said she had no goals, she had nothing. I thought, well, there is a fundamental issue in a human life where there's actually nothing that you want to do except for, I don't know, your nails or smoke drugs or whatever it is on your list of crappy things to do. Meaningless, drivel things to do. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm sure I'll think of something more when I turn the camera off.